Hey, welcome back to our podcast, your go-to source for all things real estate and lifestyle in the heart of Fort Worth, Texas. I'm Jackson Christian Berry.
And I'm Jean Kristen Berry.
And together, we're here to guide you through the vibrant world of Fort Worth and surrounding suburb living.
We believe in creating a community where everyone feels at home. And that's why we're committed to bringing you honest, expert advice in a fun and friendly way. From the bustling streets of downtown to the serene suburbs, we've got the scoop on what makes each area unique.
Each week, we'll dive into the latest market trends, offer tips for both buyers and sellers, and share insider knowledge to help you make informed decisions. So whether you're a first-time home buyer, a seasoned investor, or just curious about some of the Fort Worth charming neighborhoods, you're in the right place. Let's jump into today's episode. Hey y'all, and welcome back to Welcome Home Fort Worth. Excited that you've joined us for our tips and tricks episode this month. It's going to be about showings, both on the buyer side and the seller side. So how to handle showings as a seller, what that looks like for you, best practices when it comes to showings.
Yep.
And also on the buyer side, what that process is going to look like. And so I want to give you a heads up. We're going to start with buyers just real quick and kind of run through the buyer process. And then Jean's going to walk us through the seller process. So if you are a seller and more interested in that, stay tuned. You can skip ahead. Feel free to skip on. If you are interested in the buyer side, let's jump in. And so,
which is good as a seller to also know what buyers are thinking.
It is. It's very good. And to know what they're doing as well. That's a great point.
Yeah.
Very, very good point. On the buyer side, so showings are super fun. Mm-hmm. Showings are your way of like touring the lot, right? You're looking at the like it feels like you're car shopping, right? You have to drive more places than usual. So, but you get to tour the house. You get to see what this house feels like, what this square footage feels like, what this. Do you need that 4-bed or is that 3-bed with an office going to work for you? Right. What does that feel like? What does the neighborhood feel like? Do you like the trees in the neighborhood? Are you interested? Do you need sidewalks? All this kind of stuff. So it's going to help you get more into the local and what it's going to feel like to live in this house. So it's super fun. Showings are so fun to do, and they're just very interesting. And so when it comes to showing, there's a lot of things that we want to make sure we're aware of. And so first off, we're going to plot a tour. Real estate professionals can plot a tour for you so you can get the home and make the most of your outing, whether it's one showing you're going to see or multiple showings you're going to see, right? So we'll get that tour together, get you there, get you in the homes.
And you do have to give some notice to the homeowner.
Some homeowners, and this is on the seller side, some homeowners will request hour or 2 hour notice. Some people do a whole 24 days notice. There's a lot of different kind of restrictions in that. But we'll get you in if we can get you in. Once we're in, then it's about looking around. Mm-hmm. And so I do this in a kind of a two-phase thing. So when I have folks walk through homes, I'm going to first let them just go walk it. They're going to walk the home. They're going to see if it feels right, because very quickly you oftentimes feel if this home is good for you or not good for you, right? Mm-hmm. If it could work or not. If it becomes one of those ones quickly where you're like, I'm out, then we can still walk it just to make sure. But the reality is you probably have decided that this isn't the one for you. Okay. Mm-hmm. Phase 2 kind of kicks in after you've decided this is a possibility for you and your family. Phase 2 is once you've said, you know what, this is really something. It's that, could this be it? It's that feeling of like, like, I like this. This could work. It's those kind of like,
and sometimes buyers can't even tell you what it is about it. They can't do the specifics of what it is. Yeah.
And so that's when we kick into like more like real estate professional mode. And that's when I'm going to go through and I'm going to look at all of the big ticket item things for you so that we can start there. I'm going to check out your water heater, see if we got a date on that. If you don't have a date, this is a fun fact. If you're a real estate professional, talk to your inspector about this, because I just learned about this about 3 months ago and it's changed my showings forever. You can decode You can decode HVAC unit codes and you can decode water heater codes. And so there's a whole website dedicated to doing exactly that. And so even if you don't have the date on it, check that out and you can still decode it and figure out the date on it. So that's great. So we're going to figure out the dates, because if it's an old water heater, if it's an old HVAC, you just need to know those things, because those may be repair costs that come up quickly once you purchase the property, right? Other big ticket items, we're going to look for cracks. No, we're not realistic. We're not inspectors. We're not foundation experts or anything like that. We're just going to see if we can see signs of something that may indicate that there's something else going on, right? So we're going to look for cracks. I've always heard people have always said there's a difference between the vertical and the horizontal cracks and all that stuff. I don't know if that's really the case. Inspector would know more about that. And really, I think the inspector is going to know about that by checking the levels of the foundation. So I don't even know that they're going to look at the crack itself. But again, we're going to look for shifting, large amounts of shifting, brick cracks in the brick exterior, if it's a brick exterior, things like that might indicate there's something else going on here, right? Roof as well. What am I forgetting? I'm gonna check under your bathroom sinks just to make sure that we've seen everything we need to see there.
Right. You're going to kind of just make sure the fixtures, lighting fixtures
work. Everything's good there.
on.
Drainage. I'm gonna check your drainage. So I'm gonna go and see if you've got sitting water, or if you have large areas where it looks like the water is being pushed against your foundation.
Yeah.
Because that's going to affect your foundation. Water sitting there. So kind of your big ticket items. I'm gonna walk through and kind of identify those things. I may go ahead and do that while you're in phase 1. I may just go ahead and start walking while you do that. I'll walk with you, of course, through the showing, but we'll do that. And then really from there, there's kind of some etiquette things when you're in the home. We want to be respectful of the home. I personally, I feel like this, I hear real estate agents kind of talk about this and I think it's crazy. I love showing doing tours with kids. When you have to bring your kids along, it's so fun. I love having your kids in the home. I love getting to support you as the home buyer by like taking a second to watch your kids so you can go tour the home and be free. I love helping out with kids. And so that's really enjoyable, but we do have to be respectful. So your kids cannot just run through the home, just go nuts, play with the other kids' toys, all that kind of stuff. We have to be respectful in these homes that we're in. This is also crazy. I don't feel like we should have to say this, but like, don't eat their food, y'all.
Yeah. So
like,
I have a story.
Oh my gosh. Like, yeah. What?
Yeah. So I have a story. So I had a seller and they were chefs.
Ugh.
And they had made some amazing food and they had put it in the refrigerator. And after a showing, they called me and said, "Were you here? And did you eat anything out of the fridge?" And I was like, "No, I didn't do that showing. It was another agent that did that showing." They said, "Well, they actually ate our food out of the fridge, and that was not a fridge that was even going to be staying."
Oh my
at the home.
gosh.
So they had, a plastic fork and everything was in the trash and it was evidence. And
Oh
it
my
was just,
gosh.
It was just so odd. It was
Who
very odd.
does that?
But just, just don't do that.
Oh my gosh. What?
Yes, it was very interesting.
Good
Very
grief.
interesting. So yeah, treat it like it's
Be respectful.
You're a guest. You're a
Yes,
guest.
my goodness.
Most of our buyers know that.
That's crazy.
It's just very odd.
This is this brings up a good question. We'll talk about it in just a second. Before we get to that question, you were talking about eating in the home. The other thing, we're gonna be respectful if it's raining, even if it's not.
Right. Yeah.
We're gonna make sure we're not tracking mud through the house. They probably have more showings after us.
Yeah.
And so we want to make sure that we're not leaving a mess for the people behind us. So that's the thing.
Mhm.
What are your thoughts and feelings on can you use the restroom at a showing?
So we all know that if you're seeing 6 or 7 houses,
back to back.
that's going to come up, right?
Yep.
That's just something that's going to come up.
Yep.
So the way we'd like that to be handled is, first of all, we got to make sure the water's on the
Yes,
property.
that's the first thing we got to check. Absolutely,
That's
yes.
the first thing.
That's the first thing.
We don't want to have it where you go to the bathroom
Yeah.
and there's no water.
Yes.
So that's a big deal. And then after that, if it's all clear, then we pick one bathroom, preferably downstairs. Everybody makes sure
Yes.
that it's clean when they're done.
You got kiddos. We're gonna
You're going to go and check.
We're gonna
after
make sure
them.
everything's good. We're gonna clean up everything we have to clean up.
Right.
Like absolutely, yeah.
Right.
So that's
Yeah.
just all right. That comes up all the time.
It
on
does.
showings.
And just leave it as you found
Yes.
it. That's
Yeah.
the big thing.
Yeah, and just be respectful.
Yeah. And people, most sellers understand that.
Yeah.
But we do have this lot. We have this lot with open houses.
Mm-hmm.
And open houses, somebody will go upstairs and use the bathroom and not flush and not tell us. So, we have to check all those kinds of things at the end of an open house. So,
People are just so crazy.
yeah, so that's just a little etiquette piece.
Yes. Yeah. Just be
We're
respectful.
diving in the nitty gritty today, y'all.
Yeah. This is just interesting. Like that's a thing that people ask about. Like it really is.
They
Like,
do.
and they feel so guilty about. And I mean, it's if you can hold it, like probably that's nice. But if you can't, like then we've got to go. Like it's better than you going on the floor or something.
Well,
like, I'm thinking kiddos to be clear. But
Right.
yeah, just to be real
We're not
clear.
that big kids. But the seller also doesn't want you not being able to settle in the home.
Sure. Yeah. That's a good way to sell that.
They
Sure.
want you to really
Yeah.
feel at home. So.
Yeah, but and then if you're a seller and you just cringe that entire conversation, there are ways we can make sure that's outlined where it's like, please do not use the restroom.
Let your agent know.
We can make that. But that's I've never seen that, to be clear, but that's so funny. The other thing, this is also a story you have, which I think is just crazy. Don't bring your pet to the property.
Right.
I understand. My wife and I have 3 dogs. We understand that dogs are, and cats, I understand. I've always been allergic my entire life. We both are allergic.
Yes, we are.
So I've never been like super connected to cats, but understand they are fur babies. I get it. But we don't want to bring them to the properties for a variety of reasons. fur, just in general, if they're shedding, even if they're a doodle, right, where they maybe don't shed, just the things that they can get into in the property.
The smell.
The
If
smells.
there's other pets in the home, they'll leave behind a smell that'll aggravate the other pets.
Yep.
I mean, there's all kinds of reasons for that. So what we probably ask you, right, is just either leave your, if it's cool enough outside, leave your pet in the car,
Yep.
or take turns, and we'll just take
Sure.
turns with the shower.
Yeah, and that's fine. And again, the pets would do the same thing I said about kids, which is like if I need to sit in the car
Sure.
just for a second while you go look at that master bathroom one more time or whatever, no problem. Like that's
Keep them in the front yard,
Yeah,
or whatever
yeah.
we need to do with that. Yeah.
yeah. So we're good on that front. Just again, don't eat or drink their things, y'all.
Yeah.
That just can't get over.
Yeah,
that.
occasionally we have sellers that'll put up a little snack bar area.
Yeah, which is
for
sweet.
buyers.
Yeah, or the agents left out something
there'll
from
be
the
a
open
note.
house.
Be a
Yeah,
note.
where there's stuff. Yeah, those are great. That's fine. We have seen there are people who still do the cookies.
Yep.
Every now and then you walk in. I had one, my favorite version of that. I didn't tell you about this. There was a home I walked into that was smoking a brisket. And they had smoked a brisket, excuse me. And so that was the smell you walked into, which was lovely. And then they were like, "Here you go." And it was like, "Yeah, awesome. This is fantastic." So my kind of showing barbecue and showing that's great. So all right, so we walked through the home. We've checked out all the details. We've made sure everything's, we made sure we got a really good idea of this home.
Right.
What's next? You are going to feel inclined to start talking about price.
Yep.
It happens every single time. You're going to say, "Well, what should we offer on this?" Well, you're going to start going to that conversation. "Well, like I'm pre-approved for this." And stop. Just stop right there. And I'll be kinder than just saying stop. But I'll say, "Hey, there are cameras," if there are. Sometimes there's not. There's a Ring doorbell where they can hear us. Let's say, let's go around the corner here where they can't hear us. Or, hey, there's a camera over here. We want to go outside and have those conversations.
Baby monitors.
Baby monitors as well. All of these things are just things we want to make sure we're aware of and keeping in our mind. You can speak freely about the way you feel about the home. That's just feedback for the seller. Be kind, just because if you have any want of getting this property,
Right.
Mom's famous phrase is that you catch more flies with honey
Then with vinegar.
than with vinegar.
She
And
did.
so just, people, and so psychology shows us that people want to do things for people they like, right? And so the more we can be in good faith, the better it's going to go in negotiations. So obviously keep that in mind, but do be upfront. Like, feel free to tell me what you're actually thinking about the property.
Right.
If this space feels too small or whatever, tell me about it.
Yeah, and I think really in this new market that we have that's going on, that's a little more of a balanced market. Negotiations are going to become more
Yeah.
critical. Before, we didn't have a lot of negotiation
Yeah.
because you were just trying to get in the door.
Yeah.
So I think as negotiations become more critical, you don't want to show your hand.
Yeah, totally.
So that would be part of that.
Yep. Really, besides that, the only two things I would say is location, location, location. Okay. So we typically tell our first-time home buyers this. First-time home buyers tend to shop for the house more than location. And anybody who is not a first-time home buyer who's moving into a second home, upsizing, downsizing, whatever, they will be somebody who looks more at the location and the area than the home itself. The home's obviously still important, of course, but the location plays way more into it than that. So location, just make sure you're aware of the area. Make sure you've done your research. Make sure you've checked out all the things that are important to you about knowing about this home. That's going to be a great thing. And then the second thing, and this is where I've decided that I want to find out if there's a certification for this. I want to be a Murphy Bed certified like real estate agent shower. Okay. So if Murphy Bed is watching this, Wall Beds and more is watching this, like you need to recruit me right now, because I pitch your stuff all the time.
Yeah.
I'm such a fan of Wall Beds. I'm a big like
Dual purpose room.
dual purpose. I love creating the most use in spaces.
Yeah.
I so enjoy that. And so some of the technology with these Wall Beds is like you can just have something that looks like not an end table, like a console, right, in your living room that just rolls out into a Murphy Bed and converts. Or you can have beautiful built-ins in your office, your dedicated office space that just pull down a wall bed and you've got a fourth bedroom, right? Not technically, because in Texas you got to have a closet to have a bedroom, but you can use it that way, right? And last thing, you can tell I love this stuff. You can mount desks to it, where the desk itself, as the bed comes down, the desk like sits under it like that, right? Isn't that just amazing? Like, so you can truly have a office here and then
The guest room.
in a guest room. So there's just a lot of ways to make that work, where technology today can really, if you are somebody who's like, I want that extra space, or I want that dedicated guest room when family comes over, whatever, then that could be a great solution.
Which
for
is
you.
great
So,
for when we've got values that have gone up and interest rates that
yeah,
have gone up.
totally.
you get more. You got to figure out how to make a little bit more with your space.
Yeah. So I think that there's always, you can do things like that. That question would be, would that add value? Now, if it's a built-ins add value.
Yeah.
And a wall bed would add value to that.
Yeah. At least value in the eyes of the buyer, not necessarily maybe an appraiser, but
sure.
in the
That's fair.
in the eyes of a buyer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyways, so that's the buyer side. That's all the kind of things we think about showings. We also, I'm going to leave feedback. So I'm going to know what you said. I'm going to leave feedback for the agent. The reason for that is we just want to make sure that we're helping them in their home sale because they did let us into their home. So it's a good thing. And it also helps them just continue to go on. So that's all things when it comes to buy side showings.
Yes.
Talk to us about seller side showings.
So seller side showings.
That's a seller side cheese challenge by the seashore.
Definitely. So first of all, keep in mind everything that Jackson just said about buyers, because that gives you a sense of where the buyer's coming from when they come into your home. So maybe that'll help kind of check a few things there. So sellers, what I usually tell sellers is this really is a new way to live in your house when you have your house on the market. So you're going to work to every morning, you're going to do something, you're going to change your routines. And you're going to do things like maybe get up 30 minutes early so that you can get through the whole house, straighten it up, get the beds made, and have the house ready to show.
Right.
So if you really truly are about trying to either get your home sold super fast or get the most money for it, you're going to want to get up and do these kinds of things, or make sure you have some schedule in your day where you take care of that. You just could be surprised by how often and at the unusual hours that showings might happen.
Yeah, sure.
So if you're ready for them, then you don't have to sweat that and worry about trying to get home and get everything cleaned up.
Yeah, well, even just one step back there too. Have a conversation with your agent about what you want those showing instructions to look like.
Absolutely.
Talk about notice, right? Do you want a 1 hour notice, 2 hour notice? Obviously, the least restrictions we have on people getting in the home is better because we want people to be in the home. But 1-2 hours, that's not unheard of.
Yeah, that's pretty normal.
24 hours is a thing you can do. That does get a little more into that. You're kind of hindering accessibility there. But again, it's possible to do that.
Yep.
So that's going to help you as well to be able to get the notice to
Absolutely.
do it.
That way we can help make it fit for your schedule at least.
Yeah, of course.
For sure. It is great. Like Jackson talked about earlier, it is great to have like a little snack area.
Sure.
A lot of times people are seeing 5, 6, 7 homes. And, the more comfortable that you can help them be in your house, then the more likely they might be to see things and to feel things in your home that you want them to see and feel.
Yeah. I think that's interesting too, because I have experienced, when you walk into those homes where the seller's doing the most, they have the incense burning.
Yep.
They have the music on.
Yep.
And they have the food on the table.
Yeah.
There certainly is a feel, and if nothing else, you appreciate that the seller is really working for it.
Yeah, you do. And you want to be kind. I mean, it brings out an inner reciprocity.
Yeah, because you're like, oh, this person really this is cool.
Yeah,
not everybody does that.
Right. Yeah. It stands out because you're right. Very few people actually do that.
Yeah.
So I think it sets you apart. It helps them remember your house.
Yeah.
It makes them feel, if they do decide to put an offer on your home, it makes them feel more kind towards you, more helpful towards you with the negotiations. So you can't go wrong with that.
Yeah, of course.
It's money and time well spent.
Yeah.
Hey everyone, real quick before we get back to the show, if you're on Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube, we'd love to connect with you. We post a lot of content like this in case you miss an episode, along with more Fort Worth and surrounding suburb local insights and finds. You can find our team at the Christenberry Group on all social platforms, or you can connect with Jackson and I personally on our Facebook and our Instagram accounts. Just be prepared for lots of pictures of my grandson on either account. Now back to the show.
The other thing is the smell. So I cannot emphasize how big a deal that is.
It's such a big deal.
It is humongous.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Almost more than visual.
Totally.
I mean, it ranks right up there with visual.
Yep.
So when you go into a home, and first of all, it feels good when you walk in. So the temperature's right.
Yeah, sure.
It's cold if it's hot outside. Yeah. It's hot if it's cold outside.
Yeah.
So you go into the house, that's wonderful, and then you have this smell. So it could be cookies.
Sure.
It could be brisket if you're a meat person. I've got some clients that would say, I'm out.
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
I like that smell.
You're right.
But it could be just a scent of some sort. We don't recommend candles.
Yeah.
Candles can catch a house on fire.
Sure.
But we do recommend, any atomizers, any kind of the little plug-ins that you
Mhm.
plug into the wall. Those kinds of things are great, but don't overdo it. It's the other thing.
Yeah.
So I've been in homes where it is so strong and everybody's almost sneezing
Yep.
because it's so strong, and you just know they're covering up.
They're
something.
hiding something. Yeah, what are they hiding?
Yeah, that's the
Yep.
first thing that buyers say. What are they
Well,
hiding?
and that's the worst because then you have to actually put your face into the carpet to
Right,
smell. And it's
right.
like, oh,
Yeah, and nobody's carpet smells good.
yes.
So that's the thing I'd say is really pay attention to the smell. Work with your agent and really come up with what is the smell that house needs to smell like. We like fresh linen,
Mhm.
clean linen. It's one of the smells. It smells great. It smells like fresh laundry. Also, cinnamon apple
Yeah.
is pretty wonderful.
Sure.
Stay away from musks.
Sure.
Stay away from anything that's real heavy.
Sure.
Lemon can be great.
Light
So
smells.
Light smells.
smells,
Yeah, really
yeah.
light,
Inviting. Mhm.
inviting smells. Things that you would smell like if you went into a Bath and Body
Mhm.
or, a nice store.
Sure. Yeah.
So that's a big deal. And if you've got something that smells in the house, if you have a rug by the front door
Mhm.
that your dog lays on a lot, if you have pillows that your dog lays on a
Mhm.
lot, even doggy beds,
Mhm.
you're going to want to either wash them or get new pads.
Right.
So anything like that might smell,
Yeah.
take care of that and replace it or get it cleaned.
Yeah.
That'll help tremendously.
Sure. Yeah.
Because
Absolutely.
the pet smell is one of the big deals. It's not that we don't have a lot of clients and buyers that have pets. A
Mhm.
lot of people do.
Yeah.
However, what people don't want to do is come into a home and smell that.
Sure.
That's the thing they don't want to smell.
Well, and if they're already smelling it when they buy it, there's an expectation I'm gonna have to replace this carpet.
There's always
if it's
this.
carpet. It's
Yeah.
usually we're mentioning carpet because carpet's the thing that holds the
Right.
smell, right? Usually you don't have that problem
Mhm.
at other places, and so
Yeah.
but you can. I mean, you can have that issue with cloth furniture. You can
Yeah,
have that issue
yeah.
just depending on
Yeah.
what kind of furniture
Same
you
with
have.
couches. Yep.
It's just most traditionally with
Mhm.
carpet
And
or
you-
rugs.
And you may need to get your couch cleaned because
Yeah.
they do that.
Yeah.
So we'll need to pay attention
Yep.
to the smells and figure out where it's coming from if we need to address it.
Yeah.
We want to keep the big thing for sellers that I want you to keep in mind is that we want to keep the buyer pool, is what we call it. The buyer pool needs to stay huge.
Mhm.
So anything you can do to make sure that your house is neutral enough that it
Mhm.
appeals to
Yeah.
way more people than it can possibly ever
Yeah.
appeal to, that's the goal.
Yeah.
Because that means you've got more potential buyers to put in an offer.
Totally.
Music.
Mm-hmm.
So music. There is such a big difference between walking into a home that has even just a little bit of music.
Mhm.
It can be a little country. It can be pop.
Just it
It
feels
can be
homey.
Something happy.
Feels-
Happy.
yep.
Happy's nice. Instrumental.
Mhm.
Homey. Happy. That makes a house feel alive.
Mhm.
It makes a house feel like it's actually lived in.
Yep.
It's not abandoned.
Mhm.
It's not neglected. It just adds life to a home.
Yeah, well, I mean, think about like we've shared statistics on this podcast before
Mhm.
about just like staging
Yes.
and the effects that has on a home, right? And so music is just another step in that direction of how. Now, if you're a vacant home, probably don't do music because that's going to be so creepy. Walking into a home
Well, if you're playing
where you don't see anything.
Phantom of the Opera
That's what I'm saying.
music,
So just something to note there. But if you're living in your home,
it'd be for Halloween.
you should do that. I mean, that'd be kind of funny. You could do
That'd
that.
be
Yeah,
funny.
you could do that.
So speaking of staging,
Mhm.
yes, music is a part of staging. So staging is just cannot be overlooked. You want to get rid of clutter.
Mhm.
We want to make sure that for showings that it really is staged right. It looks good. This means making it neutral.
Mm.
So if
Yeah.
you are an
Yeah.
art collector and you have a lot of nude statues, a lot of nude artwork on the wall, you probably want to go ahead and pack those up
Yep.
and let the stager come in and replace those
Yeah.
with something.
Right.
I'm sure they're
Yeah.
they're beautiful pieces, but you probably want to go ahead and take those down mainly because again, it's going to affect your buyer pool.
Yeah. Right.
You want a big pool.
What's your take on family photos?
Family photos. So
'Cause we get asked about this a lot.
yeah, we do.
Yeah.
So if they're excessive, a whole wall,
Yeah. If it looks cluttered.
if it looks
Yes.
cluttered and there's just a lot and they're not artfully
Yes.
done, then you want to
Which most traditionally is going to be your fridge.
Yeah.
Right. Like your fridge has been overrun with kid art,
Yeah.
that kind of
or
stuff.
the top of shelves.
Sure. Any of that
sometimes.
kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
that kind of thing for sure. Yeah.
Take those down. If you have a picture above the mantle that was taken by a professional photographer,
Yeah.
it looks very lovely. You can leave that.
Yeah.
That's lovely.
I find that people enjoy it.
People like it. And they like
I've
to
seen
know.
studies talk about like there are some realtors who will say absolutely no family photos in the home, and I've heard that, and I know why they're doing it. I've seen the studies that they're talking about.
Yeah.
But every time I've been in a home, they enjoy connecting with that family as long as it does not look like it's dirty.
Yeah.
As long as it doesn't look
Right.
like it's cluttered, as long as it doesn't
Right.
look like that, it's like, oh, this looks like a sweet family.
Yeah.
And you actually, as a seller,
Distinguished.
I would argue, as a seller, you've actually built a connection
Right.
from those things.
Yeah.
Because you get to see, oh, you know, the wedding
Yeah.
pictures, or oh, the, you know, you they're not this nameless seller,
Right.
you know, person. They're actually this family that was
Yeah.
in this home.
And
So,
you just, as a seller, you just weigh it. You know, are you okay with somebody that comes through and maybe they don't like people that have blue eyes? You know, as opposed to, I like to have
Yeah.
a connection
Yeah.
with my buyer.
and but I mean, it goes back to your point about like you want to keep the buyer pool open.
Mhm.
So
That's the
that
goal.
is a narrowing of the buyer pool. To your point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would be, but at the same time, you may be trading some connection.
Yeah, sure.
That would be of value.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing. A lot, you know, people have unusual art pieces and maybe some that need to be put away
Sure.
that are too specific. Hunting things,
Yeah.
you know, trophies on the wall, the deer heads and all that kind of thing. Those should be put up.
Yeah.
Not everybody's going to like that. And so that's going to help neutralize it and make you have a bigger buyer pool.
Sure.
And again, no judgment to the art or the heads. Or
Sure.
anything.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just our goal is a big buyer pool.
Yeah, you're trying to market it. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're trying to market this to to as many people as possible.
Yeah.
You want as many people to walk in and say, "Oh my gosh." Now, I think there are some properties that we've had before in the past where we can't always do that,
Right.
and so there is a different marketing approach we'll take. Just so you're aware,
Yeah.
in those situations where we'll do more of a niche marketing approach, where we'll really target buyers like that, and we'll do a lot of things around that, which works okay as well. But more buyers, it's never a bad thing to have more eyes on your property.
Right.
That's never a bad thing.
Is the interested eyes.
Yes. Yeah, preferably interested eyes. That's the best kind of eyes.
Interested eyes.
Yep.
Okay, and then pets. Let's talk about pets.
Mhm.
So a lot of people have pets. People are very tolerant with pets. If you have a dog that you know is going to bark the entire
Yep.
time for the showing, that's caged, that's in their crate, then you've got to do something else with that.
Yep.
That will never allow anybody to calm down and to really
Yep.
step into your home.
I don't think I told you about this. I did a showing the other day where the dog was just out in the home.
Oh, they didn't tell you about it.
Well, it was a big dog.
Mhm.
It was a big dog. It was just out in the home. They told us it was going to be in there,
Mhm.
but I didn't think it was that big. First off, which I have three
Huge
90-pound dogs. Like I'm a big dog person, but when you tell me that the dog's like senile, can barely
Oh.
see, and the dog, like when I walk into the home, gets up and like looks right at me, kind of thing. I'm like, okay, we're gonna just take a step out, especially when you have kids. Like,
Yeah.
some people will tour with kids, right? So as a seller, just like,
Yeah.
you need to keep that in mind. Like,
Yeah.
nobody's gonna walk into a home with a dog just out and about with kiddos. It's just
Well, and I've had sellers before that they told me, and to their knowledge, their sweet little
yes,
pet
yeah,
was kind and sweet and
Yeah,
wonderful
with you
and
around.
had never done anything to
Yeah.
anybody, and so they were willing to take the risk.
Yeah.
Well, then you have a kid messing with it in its face and it
Yes.
bites him.
sure,
So I always talk to sellers about: do you want to take that risk? Do you really want to take that
Yep.
risk? That's a risk that you don't have to take.
Mhm.
So you want to make sure either get a baby gate and put the pets in the laundry room with the baby gate so people can still see in.
Yeah.
Or you can crate them.
Mhm.
You can, if you decide to be the person that leaves them in the backyard. If they're outside dogs, you're gonna leave them outside all day. Make sure you tell people that. There really are people that will refuse to look at a home if they're
Yeah,
pets
totally.
if they're pets that are walking
Yeah,
around.
yeah, yeah.
And I've had a deal before where we were in a house, a buyer was ready to buy the house, we're about to go write up the offer, and the cat jumped up on the kitchen counter
Mhm. Yep,
and it ruined it for him.
yep,
So, just depends again, how wide do you want to keep your buyer
Yep.
pool and how many people are you trying to appeal
Right,
to?
right.
So keep in mind that. A lot of people do just short-term stays with family
Mhm.
for those pets, just
Yep.
for the weekend, especially if it's an open house weekend. There's
Yep.
going to be a lot of showings first weekend. Just let them go stay somewhere
Mhm.
else.
Yeah.
So those are things.
Yeah, it just depends. I think it depends on size most of the time.
Yeah.
Like, I have 3 dogs.
Yeah.
If we don't own the house we currently live in, it's all that's a whole story we can talk about separate time. But we if we were going to sell our house, we would have to we will probably always either have to have already moved into our next house.
Yeah.
To just because our dogs, like, there's just no way to do that. And you can do the garage, but the garage in Texas, like, that's
Yeah,
just
you'd
not
be
a
hot.
thing. You just can't. So that we have the same struggle, so we understand it.
Yeah.
My wife and I, we get it. So
It's a thing.
Yeah.
It's a thing to work around. And you got to hope that you just attract dog-friendly people.
yeah, totally. Yeah.
Make sure to let people see everywhere. So have availability for them to look in closets, to look in the attic, to look in, the hot water heater closet. Just make sure they can see everywhere they need to see. And you can leave notes.
Mhm.
So a lot of times it's great if as a seller if you got certain things you want them to know, even though it's in marketing,
Mhm.
even though it may be in the seller's disclosure,
They may not see it.
they may not
Mhm.
see it. A lot of times they just hurry up and hop into a showing
Yep.
and they don't see it. So if you want something really noticed,
Yeah.
go ahead and leave a cute little note that lets them know about it.
Yeah.
It's not a problem at all. Kids. So with your kids, when you're getting your house ready and you're going to be showing, I find that large baskets are the best kind of thing to use. So that way you can just throw all the toys in a
Yeah.
basket and then you can hide it away either
Sure.
in the garage
Right.
or in the closet,
Right.
wherever you can put it.
Yeah.
So a lot of baskets when you're working with kids to put things away.
Yep. I love your next point.
You do?
This next point's great. If you're going to cancel a showing, if you're going to say no to a showing, don't just deny it.
Yeah.
Suggest another time. That's one of the best things you can do as a seller, because when somebody receives a denial thing, I mean, my first instinct, if showing I've requested is denied, I call the agent immediately. I say, hey, help me understand, what can I do here to get my clients on the property? We jump on that, but not everybody does that. Some people will just say, oh, cool. Well, we'll move on.
Okay, we're good.
Yeah.
And they won't come back.
Yeah, exactly. So
I mean, they really won't come back.
Yeah.
So you've missed a buyer that could have been your buyer. So yeah, please suggest another time. That would be a big suggestion for my sellers. Give them another option. It makes you seem cooperative.
Mhm.
Some of the things you can do as a seller, you can have, if you've done a lot of updates to the home or you've remodeled, you can have a photo book on the table in the kitchen that shows the remodeling pictures, the before and the after. You can also have a nice list of the things that you really want them to notice.
Sure.
So I've been in several homes and they do this, and the buyers love it, where they actually do a note or a letter to the buyer, and it just says, "Dear buyer, here's a couple of things. We've loved this home. This is why we love the home, and these are some things you can know that we've done."
Yeah.
So they do that kind of a list in a letter, and that's great.
Yeah, works great.
Especially as this market changes a little bit, we're going to have our sellers put in more effort.
Yep.
And the marketing that we do will be with more effort, and so used to the buyers would write the letter.
Yeah.
Now it may be time for the sellers to start.
Sure. I mean, it never hurts. We have to be careful with fair housing laws.
Right.
So we have to follow. You can't be like, which I've seen, which is just wild. There are people who will say, we're looking for this kind of buyer.
Oh, yeah.
That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You just can't do that.
Yeah,
at all.
can't do that.
You can't. That's just not gonna. That opens you up to discrimination and fair housing law violations and stuff, and it's a whole thing.
Yeah.
Um,
We want you to say what you love.
yeah.
about
Well, just you're telling the story, right? You're telling the story of the things that the buyer can't see when they're walking
Right,
through.
right.
What has it been like living here? Have you enjoyed that?
Yeah.
My first home that we were at, I sold and told so many stories to people about my next door neighbor. He was the guy. He was the coolest guy. He still is. He's alive. He's a great guy. But he was the guy who, like, literally you'd see him running out from his front door with his toolbox because he'd be headed to some house in the neighborhood to go help somebody in the neighborhood, because he was that guy. So it was just so fun to be next door to him, because you were always like, if you're out front and he was out front, like, you just go with him. Like you go,
Yeah.
who we helping today, man? Sounds fun. So it was a blast. I love that.
Yeah.
So he was a good neighbor.
If y'all ever had a question, you just
He just got,
think about this.
yeah. Well, and you as parent loved having him next door. 'Cause
Absolutely.
You knew that we were taking
You're
care
gonna
of
be fine.
as kiddos and stuff. So
Yep.
because he was just like, he was that. So we told stories about that. We told stories about, that next door neighbors' dogs were great. They didn't bark a ton. Like, we told those things that was
Right.
like living in the home. Here's the things we've loved about this.
Yes.
So
Those are unseen value
Yeah.
kind of items.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So utilities.
Mhm.
These are things you can definitely see, but that a lot of times people don't ask about.
right.
So it's great if you can have a kind of an average cost of what your water, your gas, your electric, those kinds of things cost. That's always wonderful. If you've got an HOA and there's things that are great about the HOA that you actually use,
Yeah.
those would be things to put out there as well. The other thing is to keep in mind, should I or should I not have an open house? Well, open houses, the percentages are out there that don't say that really sells the house.
Yep.
What we do see, though, is that if you've got somebody who's already been kind of looking and kind of targeted your home, that may be the one that they want. Maybe they've even already seen it. An open house gives them the opportunity to come back and to have an hour or 2 hours even where they can stay in the home, they can feel the home, they can kind of wander through and dream about the home and what they would do with it. And that can deepen the connection with a buyer to a property and could certainly help with the negotiations of the contract.
And then you get into the whole conversation about with the NAR changes that are coming about commissions and sharing that. And what we will be legally required, just to let everybody know, You will have to sign an agreement with an agent before they can show you a house. That's just what's going to have to happen now moving forward. That can be a one-day agreement, to be clear. That there are a lot of ways that can be swung versus previously some agents have just said, hey, let's go and I'll show you a couple houses, and you kind of interview me that way. Open houses will be probably a little more needed and a little more effective because people won't have to sign an agreement to walk into an open house and see the home. And so it may be something that's actually strategically advantageous to you with the new rules that are happening.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's a lot of value possibilities there.
Sure.
Yeah, for sure. So those are kind of some things, guys, as you're considering selling your house that you're going to want to think about and kind of do some prep work for all that.
Yeah, it helps. I think just as a note, we all know showing the home is the worst part of selling the home. Negotiations are probably the second, right? Just having to negotiate.
Probably
Inspections are, nobody loves that kind of stuff. But like showings are up there. Showings cause discomfort. Yeah. Showing is for, if we're talking about 3 months on the market or whatever, like that's 3 months of you having to kind of be uncomfortable. There are a lot of things that we want to do to help you make that easier. And these are a couple of those things for sure. So it goes quicker for you. You don't have to do it as long. But there's a lot of ways we can help. So we'd love to do that because we understand the discomfort.
Yeah, it's a job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's part of it. But you get it sold and you get on to your next thing. So it's fine. All right. Well, is that all you got?
That's it.
Okay, make sure.
That's the end of my tips and tricks today.
Nice. Well, thank you all again for joining us. We love talking and teaching and sharing. Today was fun. We share a lot of stories too. That was a lot of fun. So we got to hear a lot of the kind of.
Yeah, we've had some fun stories.
Yeah, pulling behind the curtain a little bit.
So we're going to write a book one of these days. Well,
you are going to write a book.
You've seen some interesting things.
You have fun with that. That'll be good. But we'll let you know when the book release happens. That's coming. In the meantime, we'll see you back next week for another episode of Welcome Home Fort Worth. Hope you have a great week in the meantime.
See you soon.
Hey, thank you so much for watching the podcast today. If this has been valuable for you at all, we sure could use your help getting the word out to more people. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, go ahead and give us a follow and consider taking just maybe 2 minutes to leave us a review. Both do wonders for our show with the algorithm, and on both platforms, all you got to do, head over to our show page. On Spotify, hit 3 dots and select rate. And on Apple, all you gotta do is just scroll down to the show and say leave a review. So just click that. If you're seeing this on Facebook or Instagram, a like or comment puts all the good vibes out in the algorithm for us. And on YouTube, make sure you smash that like button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you can be notified whenever we post a new episode. Join us again next week for more Fort Worth housing news and updates. Until then, y'all have a great week.